Okay, so guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Amanda Serrano versus Lucrecia Manzur fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to become a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Both really support the channel and I appreciate the support in which I've had with both, and you can request any kind of combat sporting related content and I will try my best to get out there for you guys. Let's get straight into this one though, and this of course is for the WBO and WBA World Featherweight titles, and this I believe is really obvious what MVP is trying to do with this event, and they don't really seem to be hiding it all too much. Or I mean, maybe they're disguising it in a bit of a way with the whole TikTok thing, but for the most part, it's obvious, and they branded this fight as the fight for Serrano to break Christy Martin's record for all-time KOs, which it wouldn't surprise me if actually does, end up happening. And at the same time, it wouldn't also surprise me if they've been waiting and keeping a fighter like Manzur, kind of that name or that type of fighter, lined up for a little while to allow Serrano to have an easier name in the rankings, who's still ranked well. I mean, Manzur's ranked number 2 with the WBO, but is seen on paper to be a much easier fight for Serrano to be able to get the KO, which will look good on their streaming service of TikTok, which they're going with for this card, which is a real interesting thing, which I'll talk about in a second. But again, it does seem like they're overlooking the opponent of Manzur completely, not really acknowledging her too much and the pedigree of fighter in which she is, and are just branding it as the fight, like I mentioned, for Serrano to break the record. Of course, breaking the record is a huge milestone. It will be something in which I don't think many fighters will be able to get close to. I think it will be, something that could definitely last for a long time. And I mean, it's a great thing, and it really cements the legacy of Amanda Serrano. As Serrano's always been an excellent fighter, but she's never been able to get that greatest of all time kind of recognition amongst the likes of Clarissa Shields and Katie Taylor. So this kind of a record, I'm sure, is a huge deal for her, and it would be like I've just touched upon for anyone. And again, I'm not surprised that they're trying to go down this route to get the KOs. It's a good thing for MVP to sell with Serrano. I mean, it would be interesting to see if Serrano wasn't with MVP, and perhaps if she was with a different promoter, if they would be putting their events on just solely around her getting a fight against the lower level opposition to be able to get a stoppage win to get the record. I don't know, but of course, MVP's got their whole mantra of, MVPW, and, it's good to see. It's, maybe not the most interesting of fights in which you would have wanted to have seen for Amanda Serrano, when there is other champions, other names that could have definitely made for interesting fights. I mean, the likes of Scottney coming up, Nina Mike, Tiara Brown both being champions, even, your Sky Nicholson's, who's just signed with MVP, who said that she would fight Amanda Serrano even though they're in different weight classes at the moment. There is better and bigger fights, and so hopefully if she does get this knockout, which I'm kind of hoping for as well. I mean, not only is it a big milestone and it's exciting, but hopefully if she does get it, it will then progress along her career to want to go back to the big fights, because like I say, she's taken that bit more of a visible step down since her fights with Katie Taylor, which makes sense because they were wars of fights, but we want to see that one last time jump up in level for Amanda Serrano to see if she could become undisputed again at featherweight, and to go on, one final great run in the end few fights in which she's kind of touched upon having left in her career. Again, we will have to wait and see. We I'm probably sure are going to have to wait until she gets that TKO record for her to want to do that. So whether that's this fight or whether that's 3 fights down the line, it probably will just continually be pushed on like that to just go through lower level contenders, because Hansen was a lower level contender. And Tellez was a lower level contender. Obviously Tellez was coming in on short notice, so it's different, but Hansen was obvious that was just a fight to her to get a knockout win, even though people were thinking that Hansen was going to be able to really go out there and cause an upset. But now, this is even more of a significant kind of downstep on paper for Serrano in Manzur. Not to disrespect Manzur completely, but this is just on paper. You can see that the records don't really lie, to be fair. And like I say, it's interesting that they're putting this event on TikTok. It's a new audience for boxing fans to come and watch. It'll be free, I'd imagine, to watch, which is good as well. And again, they're putting on a different platform. It's smart. It's a new way to brand boxing, of course. There's some good names that are on the undercard, which will be exciting as well. Julie Poker's a big TikTok star name, so to have her on the undercard is good. But then there's some other good fights. Neville Tiafak, I'm interested in. And there's a couple of other good ones as well that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I'm going to be speaking about the other world title fight in just a moment. But again, new audience. We're interested to see how the viewership figures are like and how they do the event in that more portrait format, or if they're going to just switch and do it landscape for a live stream. I don't know how that will work. But it is also interesting because I don't know how their deal works with ESPN. With this being, I suppose, a smaller event for them, not having 3-4 world title fights, have they been allowed to just have this fight off of ESPN? Because ESPN aren't involved, but ESPN, I'm sure, would want to be involved if possible. So again, I don't know how it works. They're doing a lot of events at the moment, MVP, so again, I don't know how they've been able to kind of get their bypass to have this event on TikTok, and how many more fights they will be wanting to put on TikTok. But of course, like I mentioned, it's something a bit different. Serrano, of course, is one of the best female fighters of all time, but I am now curious, like I've touched upon, how she's going to want to progress back and how many more fights she's got left in her career. Of course, she's 37 now. There won't be another Katie Taylor fight. We know that for a fact, with Katie Taylor having her last fight coming up soon. So, who would you want to fight? Like I mentioned, there's some big names there. And will she be caring to fight that more next generation, which would what it will be really? I mean, Tiara Brown's not the youngest of fighters, but is not got the same kind of level of name as perhaps someone like Ellie Scottney has now that Scottney's become undisputed, even though Scottney's a little bit younger. I mean, a Nina Mike fight, of course, was meant to happen a few years ago, but then that fell through. So could that fight be made? I think Mike has signed with MVP now, so maybe there's something that could be in the works there. Like I mentioned, the Sky Nicholson fight would be a big fight, but I'd imagine that Sky Nicholson will be having some plans down at Super Bantamweight for the moment. So there's big fights there for Serrano. It's just if she is wanting to take them. And I mean, this is over 12 2-minute rounds. Will that stop her from going down the WBC route? I don't know. It's a new milestone as well, the fact that it is a world title fight over 12 2-minute rounds. Again, I'm not too sure why they are doing that. Why don't they just have this at 12 3-minute rounds? I don't know if there's some kind of contractual agreement with the governing bodies, but nonetheless, that's something new as well. Of course, every opponent in which Serrano faces, you would be hoping would be coming into fight. Like I mentioned, Manzur is ranked number 2 with the WBO. She's coming off what looked to be one of the best wins on her resume against an undefeated fellow Argentinian contender who was 7-0, and that was Manzur defending her WBO regional title. So, she's got a bit of momentum with her, probably the most in which she's had in her professional career. This is her first shot at fighting against fighting for a world title, but she's fought against multiple former world champions who were on, losing runs a bit more, but had been world champions in the past, and she'd been able to get wins in them. She fought against Marcela Acuna, I'm pretty sure, who was in her late 40s at the time, but she was able to get a win there. And like I said, there was a couple of other former world champions in which she's faced as well. But then she's also faced names like Bermudez, who is a known name. Carabajal is another known name. Two top level contenders as well. I mean, Bermudez was a world champion at one point. Carabajal didn't ever actually get to being a world champion, but had been around the circuit having some big fights as well. So, she'd lost them fights, but the Bermudez one was a bit of a, weird one because it got called for an injury, but then they allowed Bermudez to get the win, even though it was an injury after, I think it was just 3 rounds, so that could have been given as a no contest. So she has been a little bit unfortunate in that way, Manzur, and like I mentioned, she's on the best run in which she has been on. But again, this you would imagine would be much more of a significant step up. She is also going to be coming in 10 years younger than that of Serrano, at 27, I believe. So again, there is going to be a significant age difference between the two of them, but also as well, Manzur is the first time that she is fighting outside of Argentina. So again, another opportunity. And she is going to be a tough, rugged fighter for Serrano to deal with, I'm sure. But to speak and learn a bit more about them both as fighters, if you don't know about them already, we'll start off with Serrano and the positives for her. She's composed at closing the distance. That composure came through in both of her last fights, against Hansen, against Tellers. She looked comfortable closing the distance, and she normally does, to be fair, but the hand speed of Taylor when they fought obviously was making her a bit more reluctant to close the distance, but that composure looked there a lot more, and the size looked there. Stronger down at featherweight, of course, and it just looked a lot better from her, showing that she was a level above in them fights, in my opinion, and like I say, being able to close the distance for the most part, being on the front foot. She will let her hands go if she can get you up against the ropes. Of course, she was able to get the stoppage in that way against Hansen last time out. She's got the nice kind of body shot, which is then followed up by the hook to the head, which is a kind of 1-2 punch in which she often throws. But I also like the mix-up of variety of distance in which she works with. The straight left, which she kind of springs off her back foot to throw, is a real nice shot when she mixes that in, and that can catch you off guard because she just kind of comes out of nowhere to throw it. She can fight at a very distance. She'll pour out the jab, but then she'll switch it up and use it as a snappy jab as well. But then, she'll work her way in close and fighting close as well. She's got decent variety in her output, nothing too crazy, but again, decent variety. She'll chop down to the body nicely. She's got a pretty consistent work rate, and something in which I have seemed to acknowledge with Serrano is that she's not always the most accurate of fighters in her combinations, but she's often able to, because she's pretty comfortable keeping her shape for the most part on the front foot when she's against perhaps a little bit lower of a level of opposition, she will throw a punch, and it's often, leading with a hook, and if she misses that, then she'll come round and throw the left hand. Even though it doesn't look like she was initially going to throw it as a combination, she twists fully into that left hand which she throws, which can be a result of her missing the first punch, which can then cause her to have just thrown a combination and to land that punch, that second punch, after she just missed the first one, with a real good snap to it and a change of tempo, and it can catch you off guard in that way. It doesn't look like she's just throwing a real quick combination where it's kind of already flowing and looking all natural. If she misses one, she comes back with another one, which can, like I say, looks like, it's not always the quickest, but it looks like it's a punch in which she's just registering to throw after she's missed the first one. So it shows how composed and how comfortable she truly is in that, and that is a thing that I'm sure has come with experience and is a real nice thing, which is, I think, quite rare to see as well, which again, I don't know how many people would have noticed. Negatives about her, I mean, she does step out of range, or well, doesn't really step out of range all too much. She can at moments, but there's definitely times in which she gets drawn into a war. And if you come forwards with multiple punches, she can look uncomfortable, and I don't think she is the most comfortable fighting off the back foot, and she doesn't handle quick movement or hand speed all that well. Again, that's when she can get caught out, and she can stand quite tall, getting caught out, being overly relaxed, and getting caught with her hands being low. Like I say, hand speed isn't the best herself. She doesn't use all too much head movement for the most part. She's not the most precise in her work, and like I mentioned, she can stand pretty tall at certain moments, which can make some punches she gets caught with not look the best. They look like they hurt and they damage more. Manzur, as a fighter, she'll bring the fight. It's obvious that she's going to do that. She's coming with that South American style where she is an aggressive fighter who will bring her fights, and she'll make it messy. She'll want to be very physical for the most part. In some of her best wins and performances, she is being physical as a fighter and wanting to kind of just throw you around for the most part, which she can often have success with at a certain level. She is willing to throw, and again is going to come forward. She's got a strong jab that she really steps into. Often, there is times in which she is coming from a mid-range distance, and if she is at all in that mid-range distance, she will throw a real strong jab. She isn't neglecting that jab, and she'll put everything into it and really just kind of stomp into it, which is an interesting weapon. She brings her hooks to the body at times, which is probably the best combinations in which she throws. The hook she throws when she leans back in an exchange is actually the most dangerous of ones. So basically, she'll come in, she'll sometimes, well, for the most part, not be that hesitant. She'll kind of overreach and leave her punches in. She'll come in messy or off balance, but she'll lean back, she'll throw a punch, kind of fall backwards a little bit. Then she'll create a bit more space to work, and because a lot of her hooks are quite wide and she's not shortening the hooks all that well when she's being on the front foot, when she throws that hook, when she's coming back, it can catch you off guard, and it can actually be a strong weapon that actually lands cleanly, and that can be a lot of where her power comes from, just falling off balance. And it's, again, another interesting weapon in that way that she has. Negatives about her, she leans heavy on the front foot. She can come in often with her head down, not really looking too much. She leaves out a lot of her punches, especially that jab. She overreaches to try and find a way in. She'll just overreach and then kind of force her way in and not really care about what's coming back, which might disrupt Serrano a bit, but could definitely lead her to get her getting caught with shots. Like I mentioned, she's got messy footwork. She's not shortening up the hooks when she goes into fights in the clinch, so that's when her best work is the body shots that she throws, because they are thrown from a bit lower of a range. The hooks to the head are just often missing and causing the fight to be being made to be quite a smothering type fight. Her hand speed isn't the best. She doesn't really have all too much defense at all. She's flat-footed. She, like I mentioned, smothers a lot of her work. And she does have to have time off in fights as well. She isn't as continuous coming forwards with her pressure and as comfortable doing it continuously as what Serrano can be. So, who do I think is going to win this fight? I do think that Amanda Serrano is going to be able to win via TKO in round 10. I think they really, I'm sure, wanted to extend the fight to be that 12-round distance to try and catch Manzur out probably as well. So they probably were doing anything to have this as a 12-round fight, and Serrano being the more comfortable in that 12-round type of fight, I think will thrive. I think it's going to be a pretty comfortable showing. I think Manzur might try and push her back a little bit and have bits of success, but I think Serrano, she can time her. She just needs to be able to without just getting dragged into a war. But I think the gaps, the openings will be there for Serrano to land upon. I think Manzur's lack of defence is just going to lead her to get caught out all too much and be too uncomfortable. And like I say, the moments and the time in which she takes off will just cause her to slow down throughout the fight more and more, even if she has had any early success, Manzur. And like I mentioned, I think Serrano will just wear her down, get her onto the back foot, and then cause the late stoppage. And then she can go on to fight next, real credit to her for breaking the record. Then, like I mentioned, we got to start speaking about the bigger fights. Scotney, Mike, Brown, Nicholson, any of them ones, even Elizabeth Shoba, but that wouldn't be as big of a fight, but, she's signed with MVP as well. But all of them fights, all signed with MVP, should be made. Like I mentioned, Serrano's not got too long left in her career now, she said it herself, so we need to get the big fights happening, so hopefully we will be. And I mean, to be fair, Serrano's been quite active recently, so why not keep the fights coming in the bigger names, with the bigger names? I mean, there's talks about Scotney versus Brown, so maybe allow that to happen, then we could talk about Serrano versus the winner of that one. Moving on now to speak about what I believe to be the co-main event, which is another world title fight, which is Mayelli Flores versus Melissa Mortensen for the vacant WBA World Super Bantamweight title. And I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Flores getting another title shot straight after losing pretty convincingly last time out against Scotney, but clearly she didn't fall down much in the rankings. I still think she is number one contender with the WBA, so again, like I mentioned, she's not fallen down at all really in the rankings from that loss, so that is why she's been given straight away this another opportunity. Again, she's a warrior of an all-action type fighter, and she's got that fan-friendly style. She's entertaining, and she gave a lot and showed a lot in her fight against Scotney, and gave a real game-tough performance. So, with the titles becoming vacant, I suppose we could see Flores get this title shot, and I mean, she could go on to win this fight, but it's just like I say, coming off the loss, it would have been nice to have seen two new contenders get the opportunity to fight for the belt, because, Flores has already fought for it, and she could have gone away and gotten, another win in that time. But, nonetheless, I'm pretty sure, signed with MVP for a new deal, so again, that's I'm sure another reason why she's been able to get this title opportunity. I'm not sure if, first of all, if she has been given an MVP's actual contract. I'm pretty sure she has. But second of all, she could have been given that not only just because she's an entertaining fighter, which is why I'm pretty sure, they tried to brand it as why they gave her that contract, but because perhaps they knew that Scotney was going to move up, so they knew that Flores was most likely going to get the opportunity to fight for a title straight away, so they were just going to sign her up to have another world title fight on the show like this, which is a smaller card, which, is adding another world title fight to the card, which is a good look. Again, that could be why MVP's done it. I mean, they want to have all the world champions, so I mean, that could be one way for them to do it, just by signing people when they know the career route of a fighter like Scotney was going to move up. They could have seen that coming and then tried to go, why don't we sign Flores, because we know she's going to get a shot next at the vacant title anyway. Again, I might just be speculating a little bit there. Of course, she beat Romero before, which was probably the best win on her resume to become champion. Romero was obviously the champion. She'd, looked like a decent name when she first became champion, Romero, but then she had 2 draws and then, never really cemented herself as a great champion. But that was a good fight, Flores versus Romero. Like I mentioned, any fight in which Flores is in is a good fight, and we could end up seeing that one again, which I wouldn't mind, because Romero was obviously in a close fight in that fight, and she's been able to get back to winning ways since, so that could be a good fight for the winner of this fight, whoever that is. And she's fought a couple of former world champions herself, where she's been able to get wins against a couple of former world champions. She has had a loss to Luna, which obviously isn't the best of looks because Nicholson, a fellow champion at super bantamweight, of course, just beat Luna pretty convincingly. So the fact that Flores obviously lost to Luna and Scotney, and then is still getting a title shot, again, is another reason why you could argue why she maybe doesn't deserve that title shot. But like I mentioned, nonetheless, she's getting it. Mortensen is having her first fight outside of Denmark. She's a new undefeated name coming in to get the title shot. And I mean, she's coming in off a good win against Tori Ellis-Willits, which is a name which I know. I've interviewed her a few times, British fighter. So that was always going to be a tough fight. And she is seen to have some decent power, Mortensen, with a good amount of stoppages on her resume, and she actually dropped Tori last time out in that fight, which was a step up in opposition, but now this is that step up into world level for Mortensen. She is, I'm pretty sure, just 24, so she's 10 years younger than that of Flores, so again, she's got something really to show in this fight. Can she stop Flores? That would be a real statement to make at just 24. Again, that power looks to be coming through pretty well, even though she is still young, Mortensen. But again, you know, she stepped up well last time out, stepping now appropriately to world level, and yeah, I think it's going to be a real good, interesting war of a fight to this one. As we've learnt, Flores won't stop coming forwards. It's just the kind of speed in which she comes forwards which kind of halts her a bit. She can be caught coming in or caught when she's throwing. She does try and slip away in often, but she doesn't throw when she is trying to slip away in, so she can get caught coming in that way if you try and watch her slipping shots, because like I say, she's not slipping and trying to rip shots, she's slipping, and then when she gets into the position where she's comfortable, then she'll throw, whereas, you know, that's not always the best of looks because she's not doing it with that same kind of speed or ferociousness that you want to be doing that kind of movements with. And you know, Scotney was able to box on the move, and if you can do that with her, then you can have success and you can time her, but again, it's not the easiest thing to do, and Scotney did have troubles at times getting caught at moments, and Mortensen, from what we've seen from her, she does like a war of a fight and could be perhaps the more powerful out of these two, but I do think she's actually the less controlled out of these two, which I never really thought I'd be saying with a Flores fight, to be fair, but she accepts the back foot more with less of a guard. She throws more limited combinations than that of Flores, who throws the kind of 1-2 hook and then the uppercuts pretty much every time in which she comes in, before inevitably kind of falling off balance a bit. But Mortensen just kind of throws hooks which are a bit messy. She kind of grows into the fight a bit more, Mortensen, and becomes a bit more controlled and times her punches a bit better, but again, not as much control in general, I think, and leaving her guard much more open, and of course isn't used to fighting the 10-round distance as much, and just not really showing off much defensive movement and just getting drawn into a fight, whereas Flores, like I mentioned, will keep her hands high and not leave the same gaps that Tori Ellis-Willits was doing. So I'm leaning towards a Mayelli Flores split decision win. Like I mentioned, I was just kind of talking about the fact that she was getting a title shot, but I think, you know, she's better than Mortensen in my opinion, so yes, it would have been nice to see Mortensen against a new name just to see a new champion. I think Flores is good enough to be a champion for this fight at least. Coming out on top in another close fight, again with both of their styles. I think it is going to be a war of a close fight, but I think, like I mentioned, Flores being a bit tighter, a bit more, you know, even though she is slower, I think, than Mortensen, she will be trying to slip away in, which could be allowed from Mortensen going on the back foot that bit more, and I think Flores will be able to use a bit more experience, come in with the overhands a bit more, use a bit more different variety of punches, coming up with the uppercuts as well at the end of her combinations. Again, I think she will be a bit of a different test for Mortensen, where her power won't be able to cause as much of an effect. And yeah, I think Mayelli Flores, like I mentioned, will win a close split decision, which could be made into a rematch if it is a real war or a good fight, which, like I mentioned, it definitely could be. Otherwise, Flores, you know, champion again. She could go on to fight the winner of the Nicholson vs Yoshida fight if that gets remade, or Romero, like I say, for a rematch. I'll be up for seeing that one as well. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video. Subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.